Now, a lot of you have been wondering, how can I make an extra $250 per year after tax? Well, it's actually really simple, and in this video... Okay, change of plans.
Oh man, this coffee tastes like dirt.
What do you expect? It was
It's ground
ground.
this morning. Oh?
This is a pretty nice, slick backdrop, right? And it's removable too, so you don't hurt your precious walls. And the best part is, it costs $100 to make. All you're gonna need for this project is paint, plyboard, command strips, and sound foam. Pretty simple, right? So if you want to take your backdrop to the next level and make it look like a studio, let's get to work. Alright, so what's my plan? Well, if we look at my tiny little notebook, we'll see here my plan for the backdrop. So I have a couple panels that I bought out of wood that are 4 feet by 8 feet. And so I'm keeping most of them 4 feet across. I'm gonna cut off the top so that they're not too tall, because my room's not 8 feet tall. And I'm gonna have little panels on top of the panels, on top of which I'm gonna have the sound foam. And after I cut them out, I'm gonna paint them black. Here I have bare paint and primer interior, and the finish is flat. So let's start cutting. So we're gonna start off by measuring the tops of the boards that we're gonna chop off. Make sure to give your tape measure a shake if it's misbehaving. Whenever marking a line, you're gonna wanna mark 2 points of reference so that you can connect them with your straight edge. Since these two boards are gonna be the same size, I stacked them so I only had to measure and cut one time. As you can see here, I'm cutting on the ground. Do not do this. Prop it up on 2x4s. Do as I say, not as I do. Here I have laid out all 6 panels. This is how it should look in the final product. And now I'm marking where the first panel should go. This will be a reference for all the other panels that I lay down. Starting in the center, of course, because that's where the seam is, and I want the panels to be symmetrical on either side. But as you will see in a little bit, the method I used to start did not quite work. By the way, all the panels and spacers are trimmings from the main boards. I didn't use any extra wood. Alright, let's get these bad boys out of there. The basic setup I want for these panels is a larger panel and then a smaller panel on top of which I'm putting the sound foam. As you can see, I'm staggering the panels. This will give some good depth. And I think a 3D effect will really make this build pop. My first idea was to stack up 4 spacers on each level and stack it up like a pyramid, and then drill straight down and then attach everything with dowels. But that was a horrible failure for a couple reasons. There was nothing to hold in place each spacer, so they moved a lot when I was drilling, and since the plyboard is very soft, it wouldn't be a secure connection. So I said screw it. Get it? Because I ended up using screws to hold everything together. And right now I'm painting using spray paint, because originally I was using brush paint, but that did not work. That was way too much of a hassle, and so I ended up saying screw it. That one doesn't work very much there. And using spray paint. I actually like this color a lot better than straight black, because the panels are black and I think it will give some good contrast. This spray paint is charcoal with a chalk finish. Ooh, are we gonna have enough? Ooh, we're in the final stretches. Alright, we got it. Now watch as my glove explodes like a water balloon. Gross. Alright, so here we are painting on a large tire. I probably should put a bag on there, but you know.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
I'm painting with the black paint now using a large brush. I'm not painting the insides because the insides will be covered up by the foam sound pads. Something I learned from this project is when you're painting using traditional brush paint and it's a hot day, the paint dries fairly quickly and the paint becomes quite viscous. When it does this, it gets pretty sticky, so it can stick to your brush and it'll leave streaks in your final product. So what I recommend is you lay down your wet coat of paint and don't touch it until it dries. That way you can make a second coat if you need to, but it won't stick to your brush and leave streaks. Since I'm going to be installing the panels along the seam in my room to finish the build and put those panels together, I ended up starting on the left side and worked my way down. You didn't see it, but I put screws in the first panel and I'm putting it together by layer so I don't have to worry about keeping each layer steady. Now what I'm doing here is very stupid, don't do that. You should always have your build secured when screwing them in. I paid the price for my own stupidity. To save time here, I put a panel at the top to perfectly line up my other panel that I'm actually screwing in. And sometimes you have to really put the foot down to show that panel who's boss. If the panel starts whining, use 2 feet. Man, these panels are really acting up. Looks like I'm gonna have to put the foot down. And here's what the final setup is gonna look like after we put the panels in the middle. I have 2 types of sound foam, so that'll add some good contrast, and I like the way this is looking. And here we have a metaphor between the balance of keeping a healthy mind and a healthy body. And it also helps straighten out the warped boards, look at that. Since the screws are a little too long, I have to file them down so they don't poke into the wall. I filed down the surfaces and the spots that I wanted to put on the Velcro strips so they have a clean attachment point because the back was pretty rough. On the back of these boards I'm using 6 pairs of Velcro strips, which may seem like a lot, but I really don't want these boards coming down. So I think it's better to be safe than crushed under a board. I noticed some spots were scuffed, probably from it resting against the wall, but luckily the paint is water soluble, so I just rubbed it with a moist cloth. This little bit here was misbehaving, so I decided to put another Velcro strip underneath. That bad boy's not going anywhere. Attaching these panels when it's vertical on the wall was a little bit more difficult than when it was laying down. So I ended up using wire nails to hold the boards in place before I put in the screws. It ended up making it a lot easier, so I didn't have to hold the boards in place while I was screwing them in. I left these screws out a little bit, as you can see the head is still poking out because I wouldn't be able to file these ones down and I didn't want them to poke into the wall. So it was easier if I just left these ones out. Alright, we're approaching the end. This is the final step. We just gotta get this one screwed in and then I can glue the sound foam panels. folks, there you have it. How to make a studio backdrop. And if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, it looks like we've crossed another item off our list. We have a backdrop now. I'm super happy with how this project turned out. I guess you could say it looks pretty sick.
Ew! Dude!
Let me take you into the corner so I can read you a quote from Damon John's Rise and Grind. If you demand excellence in what you put out, it might just find you in what you get back. So go ahead and insist on it, because life isn't what you accept, it's what you negotiate. You can buy this book in the description, and I will see you next time. Oh wait, stay tuned, because next time I'm building chairs.